Hello from AlphaCars. In our Boxborough, Massachusetts shop, we are going to talk a little bit about the C43. Very unique vehicle. It is the first AMG build within Mercedes company. As you probably know, AMG was an independent tuner, but in the late 90s, it became part of Mercedes. Which was great because now they can work within Mercedes and they could do much, much more. And as we are experiencing now, that was a great move for Mercedes. It was a great move for AMG. But C43 was truly their very first works at Mercedes. And I guess they wanted to show what they can do, and they've done an outstanding job. They took a 202 chassis, which at the time in the mid-90s, it was the 220 or 280, C220 or C280 for United States market. It was a great car. 220 was economical, plenty of torque, very decent performance. And the 280 was kind of like, wow, inline six-cylinder, and the car has phenomenal performance, very quiet. And then all of a sudden, there was C43. And they only made, I could be off on the numbers, but there weren't many. About 1,500 of them were made for United States market. They could have been a total of 3,000 more or less made for worldwide. So what it was a 4.3 liter Mercedes V8 that was dropped into this automobile. And it was also fine-tuned by AMG. It wasn't just a 4.3 liter that was out of Mercedes and they put it just in a small body. They fine-tuned a variety of things, including mainly air intake system. So they were able to gain some additional horsepower and torque, better performance. And they can say it's an AMG tuned V8, which it truly is. Between exhaust, air intake, engine performance, this car speaks for itself before you even drive it, not to mention before you step on the brakes, because everything is touched by AMG, almost everything. Of course, the body was not, the shell was not. But the interior, exterior, engine, transmission, and there's a note about that in a moment, brakes and wheels, and the finishing aerodynamic touches on the exterior. This car was a true, and still is a true sleeper. You have to know it's a C43 to really know what it is. Otherwise, it may look just like a regular C-Class on the road. As far as transmission goes, they took the transmission from, at the time, the largest S-Class, S500, and they just put it into the C-Class. So it has a C43, has a V8 tuned by AMG, and it has a S-Class transmission with the sport shift programming, something that, just a software that is tuned to the AMG standards, performance, and to the engine. So this particular car, there's a great story with this car. We have many loyal customers. One of them one day came in, the gentleman had a VW Golf, and he's a scientist, and I'm not sure how we got to talk about this, but I introduced him to the C43, and he was like, wow, this sounds interesting. And we drove it, and of course, the car was amazing. So he ended up taking it, buying it, and enjoyed it immensely. He drove it as a normal person, did not drive it hard, did not take it to racetrack, did not race with other drivers, just a nice, solid commuter. AMG refined interior, very comfortable seat, exceptional performance, great brakes, handling, all of that made this car appealing. And then it gets even more interesting. His wife also got very interested in AMG Mercedes, specifically C43, but it was much more difficult to find one. We end up finding one for her as well. So here's this family in their, I guess, late 60s. One is a scientist, and she's a Brandeis University professor. They drive C43. not bad for everyday drivers. And so we had them set up with winter wheels and summer wheels, and they enjoyed these cars for many years. We sold this particular car. This was her car. His car unfortunately got damaged badly in the accident and was totaled. But her car, as you can see it now, it is here today. It is in our inventory, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what we did to it before we're offering it for the market. So this particular car now has about 70-some thousand miles. We have documented and a very impressive service history for the last 7 or 8 years of ownership by our local customer. And then prior to that, there's some service history available as well. This car never had any accident. It had a few panels that were refinished for cosmetic reasons, but the car is very, very presentable. We will have a beautiful set of photos, a very nice overview of the vehicle, but right now we want to talk about what we did to the vehicle here. So this couple now moved to California, and they approached us and they said, we really feel like we don't want to take this car away from AlphaCars. It was something like that, and we end up buying it from them. And the car did need, and now it doesn't because we just completed it, but it did need a lot of updates. There was nothing terribly wrong with it, but it was due for a number of things. And we pretty much took it from this bumper, from very tip of it, to the very end of the car, the tip of the rear bumper. And our certified Mercedes technician took a very thorough inspection and went through this vehicle very, very thoroughly. He made a very comprehensive list of his recommendations to make this car not just a good used car, but an exceptional pre-owned automobile. Something that we can hand the keys for, and someone would enjoy this car immensely. Not just because it's one of very few C43s, but enjoy it for the ownership, for the value that we offer, because we took a major step ahead of time. We looked at things that could go wrong, that we know would go wrong, would need maintenance, and we addressed all of them. So on our website listing, we will list all those items. I will list just a few, some of the major ones. We pretty much, with these cars at this age, at this mileage, you run into seals and gaskets. They're very, very good. They don't leak a lot of oil like some other engines do, but they all need at some point rear main seal, valve cover gaskets, a few other typical things that we took care of. The rear differential needs to be resealed. We take it down, we remove axles, we replace input shaft seal, output shaft seals, we replace the back cover gasket. That's been all done, and many, many other things. We will be happy to list that in our listing. But for now, we just want to introduce you to this vehicle. It's a very rare C43 that we sold 7 or 8 years ago. We maintained, and it was very gently used by one of our customers. And again, as I said early in the story, there was another C43 side by side with this one in the garage until it was totaled, but it wasn't this car. This car was not in the accident. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for viewing it, and please stay tuned as we're going to have another video overview of this specific vehicle. But before you go, we're going to show you inside of this C43, because Leatherworks, there were very few of these cars altogether, but there were really, really limited numbers with the two-tone AMG leather interior. Just take a look at this vehicle. And by the way, originally when this car was brand new, and then it was sold for the second time, it was sold as a BMW, as a Mercedes certified vehicle. Here's the certification detail right there. The seats are in great shape. Again, you're looking at the vehicle that has not been touched or detailed by our reconditioning specialist, and it still is in great, incredibly nice condition. Once again, thank you very much for viewing this video, and please stay tuned.